Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. This is the fifth quarter post game show live. I am Jermaine Every, your analyst at Death Valley Insider. Here we are live on YouTube and on Facebook, following LSU's 62-0 drubbing of the cadets from West Point, the Army Black Knights, as their other nickname is affectionately known. Um, to say that this was military appreciation night, LSU didn't show much appreciation for the military on the field as they won 62-0, and it was just a total butt whooping from beginning to end. I thought that Army had a chance because LSU's defense has not been great all season. So I thought that Army might have a shot at putting some points on the board, kind of fighting back a little bit because as I talked about with Joe Iacano from GoBlackKnights.com, our sister rival site here, we both know that Army isn't going to give up. They aren't just going to roll over. And I guess,
Hey.
hey, my special guest here tonight, Tracy Cowley. Tracy, how are you?
I'm great. I'm doing great.
Man, it's been a
Sorry, my
minute.
dog is barking. I'm so sorry. Of course, right as I get on, there they go. I'm going to mute my mic for a second.
It's funny because my dog does not bark. Like our dog doesn't bark at all. Like he'll be sitting right in front of me on the sofa or something, or he'll be sitting on the stairs, walking around, whatever. But he won't really bark. And what's even crazier is my daughter.
You just said that you were going to take the rock straight.
Uh-oh.
Okay. This is what happens when you have your other phone hooked up to the soundboard. So, like I was trying to say, and it's still playing loud. So the other dog, my daughter is dog sitting. He's in her room, and it's a little French bulldog, and we have a Chiweenie. They don't really get along very well because our dog Max is really hyper, whereas Dinner, the little Frenchie, he's kind of like laid back and chill. So it's like, sometimes they get together and it's kind of crazy. But yeah, they've been good. I haven't heard them.
That's awesome. No, I was on Fred's show, and he was one of my dogs was in the kennel, and she was very whiny. She wanted to get out, but I'm fostering a dog right now, and he never barks. And as soon as I get on, he barks. So hopefully now they're chill. They're it's getting close to their bedtime. So hopefully now they'll go to bed.
Yeah, I got a buddy of mine. We do a podcast together, and we always wait until his kids go to bed before we start.
Yes.
Because it's like, look, it's quieter when the kids are just totally asleep.
You never
not
know.
even just up; they're just totally asleep. Then it's best then.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game, I was just saying right before you got on, like to say this was military appreciation night, they really didn't show much appreciation for the military on the field, beating them 62-0 like that.
But they did get off the field. They did the field. They did the flag. They had one of their Army veterans run out on the field with the American flag. And I don't know if you saw at the end of the game, LSU players actually went to Army's student section and stood with them as Army played their alma mater.
Yes, they did.
That was
amazing.
amazing.
Cool. That was pretty cool.
Amazing. So I understand they still had to play a football game.
Yeah.
And LSU's just that much better. But the love and respect that LSU showed all week leading up to this and during the game was something special.
Yeah, I really like that. And they also had the end zones were painted with the Army fatigue pattern and everything. So that was pretty cool too. Like when I saw that picture on Twitter, I think they had a drone shot from Tiger Stadium like yesterday or the day before whenever they finished painting it. Yeah. And it was kind of cool. I was like, oh, wait, I can't really see it. Like, well, it does camouflage.
Yeah.
Kind of disguise it. But it was just kind of cool to see that color and that pattern with the LSU logo in there.
Yeah. No, but LSU did everything they needed to do. The only hiccup, in my opinion, was Alexander after he caught that interception at the end of the half. Went down. I don't know. I haven't seen anything of an update. He didn't play at all in the second half, but I swear we cannot lose that guy going into Bama. So that is the only concern that I saw. They played a very clean game, very little penalties. Of course, the run, they had both pass and run going. They got a lot of the basically second and third teamers played in the second half, which is great because you have to have backups ready to go. You never know when they're going to get called into action, especially against these big games. They still have Bama, Florida, and A&M, I believe, are the big games left on the schedule.
Yeah, they and like I've been saying the last few weeks on the post-game shows, like they need to win out the rest of the season, and they still need help with Ole Miss losing in order to try to win the West and make it to another SEC championship.
I do think with what I saw tonight, and I preface that with what I saw tonight from Ole Miss, I do still give Georgia an edge, and that because I do think they play at Georgia. I need to look at that. Can you Google that real quick?
Let me see. Are they actually playing? Ole Miss?
Yeah.
I think let me pull it up real quick. Because LSU has Bama, Florida, Georgia State, and A&M left in their season. And right now, Ole Miss has Vandy, A&M, at Georgia.
Mm-hmm. That to me is the one I'm circling. And are they at A&M or are they at home?
They're at home for A&M. They're at home for A&M, or Vandy, home for A&M, at Georgia. They get UL Monroe at home, and then they go to Mississippi State to end their season.
Okay. Well, the one that we all need to be Bulldog fans for the one game, because we do need them to lose that game, and LSU has to win out to have a shot. And from what I saw today against Bama, I truly believe LSU has an exceptional shot to win that game. LSU is going to move the ball and score on Bama. If Milton can do it, and I have very little confidence in that quarterback from what I saw, Jane Daniels is going to throw against them.
Yeah, and my thing is when I heard people say that Bama's defense is improving and they're playing better, to me that's like saying this defense isn't up to normal Bama standards.
Absolutely.
And you're trying to talk them up. To talk them up to that standard, but you can't talk a team up to a standard. They have to play up to a standard.
Yes. And Tennessee is nothing like the offense from last year. It is almost a complete opposite where they run more than they pass. And if you watch Milton throw, he is to me, watching the game today, was just like Milroe. They are a lot alike. They fling it downfield and they could throw it far and whatever. But those mid-level passes, if Milroe can't hit those with LSU, they're going to really struggle, in my opinion. I do. They're going to have ball control, but I just don't see enough from Bama's offense. How are they going to get enough points really against this LSU offense? I don't know. How do you stop LSU's offense? It is a lot like 2019. It's like pick your poison.
It is. And when I look at the numbers from tonight, just the overall, they stayed on average with, it was 500, I believe 94.
Yeah.
570 yards of total offense, where they're at like 580 or 590 something on the season. They averaged right at 48 points a game. They scored 62 tonight.
Yep.
So the passing game stayed on point, where they carried most of the burden there.
Another 2 100-yard receiving games, and I don't know if you saw, they tied our amazing Jefferson and Chase from 2019, because now they both have three. They have 3 games of where 2 receivers got 100
went
yards.
Over 100 yards. Yeah,
I think they have a chance to set that record.
Oh, easily, because looking at the rest of the season, they'll definitely have a shot against Georgia State in the first half.
Yes,
because they probably won't play much. They have a shot against Florida. They definitely have a shot against A&M, and Bama's defense is quote unquote improving.
Yeah,
they could do it in any one of those games that they have left. I could find that easily done, just because of the way these guys run their routes. And one thing that I made note of was Malik Neighbors' touchdown in that first half. He came in motion from left to right.
Mm-hmm.
Mason Taylor lined up in the slot. He ran a post route, pulled the safety with him. Malik runs that seam route right up that seam, and Jay Daniels just threw a dart in there. Even though he knew Malik was going to take a hit, he put the ball right where he needed to.
And he held on.
He held on through the contact. He didn't have to break stride. Jaden put the ball right in his breadbasket, and it was just a perfect play call, perfect route running. Everything just it all went together on that one play, and it was another one of those over 20-yard pass plays that they have.
And they are blowing it up with those this year. Like, it is exceptional what they're doing with plays over 20 yards this year. Even in some of the run game. I mean, we had a 67-yard touchdown to end the game. Freshman came in, and even
Trey
the
Holly.
running game, is getting involved with the party. So they're a very balanced attack, and I truly feel if Bama tries to stop one, they're going to get the other.
Oh, definitely. What's up to my buddy Sloan? He came in the chat, and but yeah, this game they had the big plays is one of those numbers that I always put in my by the numbers article every week. They had 9 big plays, which is gains of 15 yards or more in the pass game for 305 yards.
That's ridiculous. That's so good. And it was against Army, but you still have to execute it.
Right.
You still have to execute it. You still have to do what you need to do. And for LSU, this was absolutely an essential practice game headed into the bye leading up to Bama. This was the perfect game other than let's see what happened with Alexander.
Oh, definitely. And then in the run game, the big plays, which are 10 yards or more, they had 5 for 110 yards today. So every single game, every time I look at those numbers and I break down all the numbers and everything and put that article together, when I look at those big plays, they constantly have at least 4 or 5 big plays in the run game and the pass game every single game. It never fails.
Yeah.
And this is where teams will have to pick, like you said, they're going to have to pick their poison because you can't stop one or the other. You're going to have to pick one.
The way Gibbs is running the ball, and I know Bama has a fairly stout D-line. Our offensive line is going to have to play the best game of the year, though, against Bama's D-line. But I truly feel if they could open up some holes, that the LSU offense, Daniels will get his.
Yeah,
Bama's secondary is not as good as
they're not.
As they used to be.
Exactly. And like there was a graphic I believe someone put out on social media where it showed, I think the 2017 Bama team is all in the NFL right now. And they don't have those kind of guys there now that strike fear in the heart of the other offenses.
No way.
There's not a guy on that defense where it says, okay, don't throw at him or be careful with him. You may have 1 or 2 guys that are playmakers, but there's nobody that you just say, okay, we fear that guy.
They don't have a shutdown, and the other thing they don't have is wide receivers. I know they have Burton. He's been their most prolific, but outside of that, I don't know who are their receivers. I have to go look them up and see what stats they have and what they're doing because you don't hear their names. Yeah,
9 times out of 10 next week, since the LSU has an off week, I'll probably post something where I do a little bit of study on Bama and, do a little bit of deep digging into their numbers and what they do, try to watch some film or something like that and kind of give everybody like a little bit of a preview. And then that following week, we'll of course be doing crosstalk with somebody from their rival site. But it's just as a nondescript Bama team as you could think of.
Yes, they're very ho-hum. I would love to know, and this is probably a stat I'll look up, how many points they're averaging a game. I would love to know that. I think that's going to be really important. They did have a great comeback today, but again, it was against a Tennessee offense that scored again 20 points against A&M, second week in a row. And that offense is really one-dimensional. I don't know if, they're not playing another quarterback like him. This year, in 2 weeks, they're playing a Heisman Trophy candidate, and that's good. That he is going to get the ball out, and he's going to limit mistakes like he does.
Oh, definitely. And the biggest thing, like Coach Kelly was saying sometime this week, he said the big difference in Jay Daniels from last season to this season is the type of study that he put in the offseason.
Absolutely, yes.
And he talked about they had to actually change the rules of access to the building
so he could get in.
so he could get in there more.
Who does that remind you of? There's
Joe
a player
Burrow.
Burrow. I'm telling you,
reminds me of
man.
Joe Burrow.
This team is like it's almost like coming to, except for the defense. I wish the defense was a little better. And they had playmakers like Queen, and we had Delpit back there. But
Right.
no, but you see that offense. The offense is truly elite. It is special, and it's going to set records this year, and that's going to win games. And it's something that we could hope that they do in 2 weeks in Bama. Is the defense could hold up just enough and make Milroe uncomfortable just enough where he made mistakes today. I don't know if you saw the game today. Whew.
Yeah.
That cannot make Nick Saban happy.
There were several times where, like, I know there was a read that he had where he threw an incompletion, and I want to say it was to the left side of the field. And he had a guy wide open, like in the flat, I believe, to the right side of the field. But it's just like his decision making and his accuracy is kind of off. And sometimes it's like he's a big kid, he has a really strong arm.
Absolutely.
That adrenaline gets flowing, and he'll chuck one and he'll overthrow a guy.
Sail it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'll sail it or something like that. Or
throw it too hard for what was needed. You don't need to zing it every time.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to get touch on passes. And that's one of the biggest things I've seen in Jay Daniels from last year to this year is not only does he know how to hang in the pocket, but he's studied the offense so much that he knows exactly where to go, when to throw it, and the kind of touch to put on. What was that, an
86-yard touchdown? That touchdown was it wasn't like a dart. It was truly floated right into the wide receiver's hands after he was on the run to avoid pressure because 53 missed his block.
Yeah.
And the guy had it open, and Daniels just stepped up, avoided, and threw that dime. It was ridiculous.
And Brian Thomas Jr., when he ran that route, he never broke stride.
Never.
He never had to slow up or anything. It was just perfectly laid out there in front of him. He caught it and then just outran the defense and scored.
It truly reminds you when you're watching this, okay, that could have been Burrow to Chase. Exactly. That's how perfectly executed that throw was. And it was ridiculous. That play was all five. It was all five. Thomas just happened to be there with the bread basket, catching it on the run and scoring. But no, Jaden has truly become exceptional. And I find it shocking that more NFL teams don't have him higher on their draft boards. How could they not? I don't understand. I know I'm not an NFL scout, but it's like, how do you not watch this guy's decision-making, going through his progressions, the way he avoids the pocket and throws the ball? How do you not look at this guy saying that's an asset to our team?
There was a graphic last week that ESPN put up. Someone had all the draft eligible quarterbacks in this year's college football.
Mm-hmm.
Guys who are either seniors or draft eligible juniors or redshirt sophomores. They had Jaden at, I believe, 9th or 10th on that list.
Ridiculous.
And I'm like, come on, man. You got to be kidding.
If you watch him and you watch some of these other guys, are your eyeballs, what are you watching with?
I would take.
It just blows my mind.
I would take maybe Michael Penix Jr. and Caleb Williams. Maybe.
Caleb, though, did you see this? Let me
and
read
the
you
way
man.
The way he's looking tonight.
Whew,
it's now Michael Penix Jr. and Jay Daniels are now, to me,
totally separated.
The two high, and Jaden is fighting back, even though his team has 2 losses, and people have kind of like.
No, Caleb Williams just scored us. We're talking about him.
See, he hurt us. He hurt us.
But let me tell you. Before that touchdown, these are his stats. Caleb Williams against non-top 25. He's had 23 starts, 70% completion, 317 yards a game, and 78 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. But against top 5, and this is where you get NFL talent that you're playing against. He has 5 starts. His completion percentage is only 51%. He has only 172 yards a game, and his touchdown interception 6 for 6. Now, again, that's before this game. But to preface, that is some scary stats right there. And I know he's talented, but is he talented because his competition is less? Or do you look at that? Do you just look at his skill set? Because here's the thing that I look at with quarterbacks going to the NFL. Where are they going? Look at Justin Fields. Justin Fields, man, it's almost like Chicago has ruined that kid, you know? And I know Caleb wants to go to a certain team and blah, 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 blah. But to me, if he goes to a bad team, is that going to set him back in his development? Because you're still going to be developing in the NFL.
Oh, definitely.
Joe Burrow was so good. And I hate when people do this because they compare Herbert, and Herbert's been in the league and the guy has yet to win a playoff game. Joe Burrow took the Bengals, who were 2 wins. The next year he got hurt. The year after that, he went to the Super Bowl. That's how he changed. He changed that team.
Yeah. And the thing is you look at guys like Herbert, he's done a lot, but Burrow, I think,
has win games.
Yeah. He
doesn't take the team on his back and go, guys, let's go.
He can't do it consistently enough.
Yes, that's correct.
It's like he shows flashes of doing it, but he doesn't do it consistently enough. And when you see guys like Burrow or some of these other quarterbacks, Mahomes,
Josh Allen,
Jalen Hurts,
yes,
they do it consistently.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing that you have to show as a quarterback. Outside of accuracy, you have to show consistency in your good play.
Yes.
And he just doesn't show that enough. And that's what I'm seeing from Jayden Daniels from last year to this year.
Consistency.
Like you saw some flashes of it last year, but this year he's added to his game and he's doing it much more consistently.
It's every week.
I haven't seen him like just okay. That was just even the Florida State
the Auburn game last year. He threw for 85 yards.
Right. The Florida State game, their first game of the year, they're probably their worst game of the year. He still performed pretty well. And that interception he threw
was not his fault.
Fell down.
Yes.
So
that matters. It matters. And I don't think that loss was on Jayden. I do chalk it up to having completely new secondary and the defense. I do feel that if the offense if you ask Mike Denbrock to go and do Monday morning quarterback in that game, I don't think he would have called run up the middle, I think they ran up the middle twice. They wasted 14 points in the first quarter of that game, just leaving it on the field. That could have changed the whole outlook of the game if they would have scored even one of those.
They should have at least had 6 points at minimum because Ramos would have kicked two easy field goals. Minimum. So I look at you missed out on 6 points there, possibly 14, and look at where the game ended up, and look at how the momentum could have changed.
The fourth quarter.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is why I tell people you have to look at certain points in a game where things will change. And the funniest one to me is it was in the Missouri game. They were down 22, I believe, to 10 at that time.
Yeah.
Perkins caught that interception.
Yes, changed the whole game.
From that point forward, I believe LSU went on like a 40-7 or something run.
Mm-hmm.
And it totally changed the game. And when I said that was a momentum shifter, well, somebody kind of challenged me in the live thread. He was like, "Oh, that wasn't. You don't know what you're talking about." I was like, "Okay, I'm just saying." And
I think it woke up the defense too.
That's exactly what it did.
Because in the second half of that
exactly
game,
what it did.
Missouri had 8 drives. They only scored on 2.
Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. Like you sometimes there are going to be certain points in the game where you may not see it as a huge momentum shifter, but when you look from that point forward, the game totally flip-flopped
Yeah.
on that play.
Yeah.
So you just got to kind of look at that. And the momentum shifting plays this team often has. And tonight they were on the turnovers. I believe they were +3, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
And 2 interceptions. I
+4.
believe.
+4.
+4. Oh, 3 interceptions, I think.
Three interceptions and a fumble.
Yeah. I think Sam had 2. Was it
I
Sam?
believe so. Because
Sam had 2?
and the thing is when you look at these guys playing, and you know, I would love to see Greg Brooks back there, but these other guys in the secondary are stepping up, and
they
just the
had
way they
Harris
put them
out
together.
tonight. Harris didn't play.
Deuce
They had
Chestnut wasn't
multiple
playing either.
guys out today.
Yeah, Chestnut wasn't out there either. Makai Wingo on the D line was missing tonight.
Yes.
So
I think they're resting some guys to be prepared for Bama. The only one I'm worried about is Alexander because he was during the game. I think everybody else is going to be ready to go. But no, just to update you, I don't know if you're watching this, but USC is up 32-31 with looks like under a minute to go.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm catching it on
Utah
the
is
little...
at midfield with the ball.
Wow. Yeah, I'm still looking for an update on Zy Alexander's injury. I haven't seen anything yet, but
even in his presser after the game, I haven't seen anything on Twitter either. It makes
I keep refreshing and I'm not seeing anything. And I was trying to see like what the injury was, maybe.
It looked like they were doing something with his leg, but then they cut away to the teams going to the locker room, and that was it.
Yeah, and the way he was laying, you can't really. It wasn't like a shoulder or something.
Yeah.
And it must have been a leg, a foot, or something like that. But it's just, it's probably a leg.
Because I think he's one of the best cover guys.
And you know, there was a game he kept like he's been getting picked on a lot this season.
A lot.
But like I was saying before, he's either right there in position and he can't make a play on the ball, or he's somehow out of position. But if he could just like, I don't know if it's a film study thing or an awareness thing, but he just has trouble locating the ball.
Yeah.
Because he'll be like right there and then he won't be able to locate the ball, or he'll be totally out of position and then he's trying to use all his recovery speed to catch himself back up.
Yeah.
But it definitely, I can see the talent and he has the size and everything to play corner. And it's just once that kid puts it all together, he's going to be scary. He's going to be really scary. So I really hope he's okay.
Yeah. Other than that, this game was perfect for LSU. I think Brian Kelly would take every second of it. And what I think he's going to do over the next 2 weeks is use that film and make sure that we use any improvements through this game and anything throughout the season. You know, they changed their defensive scheme. I haven't heard of another team doing that midseason, but hey, you know, you got to do what you got to do. I think Perkins has been much more effective in recent weeks because they did move him more to the slot, kind of covering that. And he kind of just covers the outside. Like he made several plays today where he made the quarterback either throw the ball. I remember one specific play. He made the quarterback throw the ball, and then he chased down the guy who caught the ball. He's ridiculous. He's absolutely insane. So using his natural ability and speed, I'm glad they kind of chucked that whole idea of him being wasn't an inside linebacker?
Yeah. No. The thing is
just a game wrecker. Let him be just a game wrecker. Okay.
He's a football player.
He's gonna go get ball. Get ball.
Just put him wherever. And the thing is I love how they use him all over the field. They'll play him at rush end. They'll play him at middle.
I kind of look naked right there. So let me make sure.
She does have on a shirt, guys.
I do. It's an LSU top. Don't get all excited, people.
But like, like he'll play inside, outside linebacker. He'll play in the slot. He'll come off the edge. He may
To
blitz
me,
from the
it's where
slot.
is Ford needed? Where is Ford
Exactly.
needed to make a
Exactly.
play for LSU? That is where Ford needs to go.
And that's what you do. You use him where he's most effective. And one of the things that the guys the last couple of weeks have pointed out, and they've noticed it as well. And there's been different crews that I've noticed that have noticed the same thing about LSU's defense. They'll play him in the slot, early downs, and then when they need like those obvious pass rush situations, then they'll rush him off the edge.
Exactly.
If they feel like they need more coverage in the middle, they'll put him in one of those linebacker spots. So it's like just depending on the play, the coverage, the down and distance situation.
That. If you look at his body language, his body language has changed where he's like a heat-seeking missile to get a football, and I think he's really embraced that. And it's showing, obviously, the dude is ridiculously talented, and they're using that now instead of trying to make him something he's not.
There's another kid that is a 24 commit that I just covered a couple weeks ago here up in Humble ISD at Summer Creek High School, Xavier Atkins. He's a 4-star linebacker, about 6 foot, about 210 or so. He reminds me somewhat of Perkins because they play him a lot at middle linebacker.
Yeah.
But he may drop in coverage, or a lot of times they'll blitz him up the middle. He will also, like, I've seen him cover guys out of the backfield and whatnot. So, like, I've seen a couple of different things. Like, I saw some highlights and stuff when they played North Shore here and they lost that game. That was a pretty close game. I think North Shore beat them by like 10 or 11. But just the way he plays and how they use him in different positions sometimes, those type of guys on defense are more valuable now at every level, high school, college, and especially at the NFL. Because you look at a guy like a Micah Parsons.
My team's the Niners. Yeah, Micah Parsons. You look at my team, Fred Warner.
Yeah,
Fred Warner is the way they speed to the ball. Him and Greenlaw, it's just ridiculous to me. And I think that's kind of, if he puts, he may have to put on a little more weight. I don't know. He's a sophomore.
I think Perkins is about 220. I think is he a junior or a sophomore? I gotta look it up.
Sophomore. He was a freshman last year.
Okay, so I'm not sure if he redshirted or not, but he if he put on a little bit more weight, he may not even have to put on as much weight. Yeah. But one of the things that I've heard about that teams are looking at, like they're looking for guys like him of 6'1", 220 or so, really fast, athletic. But like, what kind of functional strength do you have? Like, can you take on a block and shut a block, or can you do certain things like that? But they look for certain instincts and certain abilities, and he has those instincts. He has those abilities, and he has the athleticism.
Yes, and he is a superstar. He's going to have to show up big against Bama. Today he did again. I was looking up, and it was Sam who had the 2 interceptions. But Harold Perkins had 7 total tackles, 2 solo, and a half tackle for loss. So, again, impacts. Omar Speets was out there. He had 3 solo tackles. So the one guy that people kept talking about recently was Whit Weeks, because he made a big impression against Mississippi State. He played in the second half. I think he's just so young and learning. Even though he reminds people of 4 in the way he flies to the football, there are certain things they're going to need him to do in that position, and I think he's just still learning.
Yeah, I love.
That's why we haven't seen him more.
I love his ability, and I love what he brings, but people just got to give it time, because you can't expect too much. Just because you see a few little
plays,
here and there, like give it some time.
Yeah,
give it some time. And he's only a freshman.
Absolutely.
What if like they didn't put him on a weight program, obviously, coming into the season or anything? What if he gets on a weight program and they're like, hey, you know what? you're 222 now. We want you to gain at least 20 pounds of functional weight in the off season.
Mm-hmm.
And they put him on that weight regimen and program. And next thing you know, he's a lot, thicker, stronger, able to take on blocks better and do more things. Because if you see the flashes now, wait until they work with him and he gains a little weight and grows into his body in that frame, because he's 6'3", 6'4" already. If he gets any bigger and stronger, he's just going to get more fearsome. And if he keeps that athleticism and then learns the actual game, and one of the biggest things that they did this season to help give this defense a jump start was bringing back Pete Jenkins.
Yes.
I don't care if the man's 80-something, 80, I believe,
if you know
82
football,
years
you know
old.
football.
He's worked. This is his fourth LSU coaching.
Anything could help at the point that LSU was against Ole Miss. Let's be real, okay?
The man has been coaching. He started coaching when my mom was 2.
Have you noticed, though, the defensive line is not 10 yards off the ball? Like
exactly.
Oh my God. They're finally playing up to the line of scrimmage where they should be, not being pushed back. Like so if you're 2 yards off the ball and then you get pushed 2 more, that's 4 yards right there if there's no gain. I mean, it was just insane. So, thank God he at least moved the line of scrimmage back to where the ball was, close to the ball.
And not only that, but if you go back and look at the Florida State game, first game of the season, and then you look at plays now, don't even look at the whole play. Just look at the play pre-snap and look at the splits on the defensive line.
Yeah.
Their splits are much tighter, and the way they rush their gaps are much better now. And I can see where you don't have as much crisscrossing, flip-flopping. They're not giving, opposing quarterbacks as many rush lanes and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think the only quarterback that really gave them trouble running out of the backfield was KJ Jefferson. May have had a few plays.
He did.
And Ole Miss's quarterback had a few plays. Outside of that, I haven't really seen a quarterback just tear them up running the ball, taking off and scrambling.
And to your point, those are the strongest quarterbacks they would have faced all year.
Mm-hmm.
They are not facing quarterbacks down the stretch that are close to those guys, in my opinion. I think they're going to make plays, but they're not as talented as KJ. Looked awful today. That game was just freaking ugly. It was just, bleh. But when he played against LSU, that was who he is. And he was hard to defend. He made plays. Utah just won, I think, with a walk-off field goal.
Oh, yeah, they sure did. It just popped up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow. And,
Suck it, USD.
Yeah, Washington they have not scored in the first quarter. It's 0-0 starting in the second quarter against Arizona State. They're playing Arizona State, and they haven't scored.
Wow. What is going on? Mac Brown and UNC loses to you. Oh my God. That's like shocking. They were 24-point favorites.
Wait, and UT barely beat UH early.
Because the officials didn't give them the correct yard. They didn't. What are they looking at?
Exactly.
What are we doing here, people? Screwed. You're just gifting a big game it's insane.
Much.
What happened today was insane. Oklahoma almost lost to UCF at home.
Today was the first game that LSU had that in like 3 weeks, I want to say, where I haven't heard of like some like bogus, weird, never heard of before penalty. It started with disconcerting signals.
Hold on, clapping.
Against Missouri. And then there was a defensive false start, I think last week.
I don't even know that's possible.
That I never heard of either one of those until I saw them called in those 2 games. And I was just like, wait a minute. I've been watching football a really long time. I've never heard of either one of those 2 penalties until the last few weeks.
That's ridiculous.
It's crazy. But
how do you not review that Houston? It was clear as day to the announcers that he got to the 9-yard line.
Yep.
How? They reviewed it in another game. I think it was the Alabama-Tennessee game where Tennessee was given yards and they reviewed it and they pushed, or one of the two where it was
They
one of the,
respotted it.
they respotted it
Yeah,
correctly.
they
They
respotted
reviewed, they were corrected it.
Mhm.
What is going on and how much money did Texas pay for that not to get reviewed?
I don't know, man. But
Because I tell you, if they would have lost, they would have been done.
exactly.
But their defense looks really shady. They gave up almost 400 yards passing to U of H today. U of H.
And it's games like that where UH loses, and you think like, man, Dana's already on a hot seat and this and that. But look at how they lost.
They played amazing. They were down
Exactly.
21 points and came back. It was just, it's that's the kind of stuff that irks college football fans in general, is games like that feeling like they're gifted to a team just because, again, following the script, that whole following the script of the NFL. But it just seems like there's certain teams that get those breaks more than others. But the Texas hasn't looked right. The last two times they played, they gave up a lot of yards to Oklahoma. Even though they did outplay Oklahoma, they gave up the biggest plays of the game when it counted most. And then they couldn't stop U of H. U of H was in that game. And who knows if they were given that yard that was reasonably theirs, they possibly could have won that game too. You just don't know.
Exactly. And it's certain plays that games can turn on. And that's what people don't understand, is that you can't look at, okay, this big play here or there did this or that. There's sometimes there's going to be certain plays in a game where it may be a third down that didn't get converted, and then from that point forward, the team had momentum, or it could be a missed field goal, or it could be hey, we converted this fourth down. They may not have scored on the drive, but they flipped field position, and then that turned the game. So there's a lot of times when you can't just look at certain plays here or there and point to say, yes, this was it. But there's going to be some times where you have to look at a more, not as a noticeable play, I'll say, and that could be a momentum shifter here or there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the Alabama against Arkansas game where easily had the game in hand. And here comes Arkansas scoring 14 points and making it a field goal game at the end. And Alabama just ran out the clock. But you look at those games and you look at how LSU's handled their business. It makes you stop and think about what this game is going to look like. It is in Tuscaloosa. I don't know if it's a night game. I don't think they've announced that yet.
No, they haven't. They typically
I would
wait
be
until
stunned if it's not. Is it going to be the CBS night game? Because it probably is again.
It should be. I mean,
because they only have one of those a year.
Yeah. Well, this game.
Is it going to be on ABC or ESPN or
is
it going to be on CBS?
They haven't said it yet, and they haven't announced the time. But I'm pretty sure that this is going to be
night. It's ranked on ranked. It's Alabama. It's LSU.
Yeah.
After last year, they're going to have
gotta be the CBS night game, or it could be ESPN.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be ESPN or CBS, either one. Night game, probably a 6:00 kickoff. They'll put in that 6:00 slot.
What are the other big games that weekend?
Ooh, let's see.
Because that could determine it too. I know Ole Miss plays Georgia. Is that going to be one? Where is CBS going to put their money on their one night game a year?
Now, see, if I'm CBS, I'm putting it on LSU Bama. I may not put it on Georgia Ole Miss, because the way Georgia's been playing this year, you may see number one fall, and that's always exciting. But if you want just the better game,
it's going to be LSU Alabama.
I'd probably say LSU Bama, but you just never know.
But yeah,
wait, let me switch to the other week. I'm on the wrong week. There we go.
November 4th.
Okay, so we have, let's look at the top 25 matchups.
Because then you have Mizzou and Georgia's coming up too. So I just don't know when all these games are going to fall into place and where. I haven't memorized Georgia.
Yeah.
schedule.
Okay. Yeah. You have Mizzou, Georgia that week. That'll probably be a day game.
Yeah, that's gonna get something. That's gonna get
Washington,
either get the 2:30.
Washington, USC. That'll be the late night.
This kind of
Pac-12
hit
game.
USC though. It's still gonna get it because it's USC. They're still gonna get something. That may be the ABC game though, or the Fox game. Doesn't the Fox have Pac-12?
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. I think that game, I think that USC Washington game, I think that may be the late night game. That may be the 8, 9, 9:30 kickoff game. You know, to keep everybody's attention late. If they were smart, they do it at like 8 o'clock.
Yes.
To try to steal some of the viewers from those 6 o'clock kicks.
Yes.
And still get some of the East Coast.
Zone. Yes.
Exactly.
Because I do go to bed. Like I don't stay up and watch those 9:30. I don't stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. Sorry, Pac-12. It doesn't happen.
Hey, I was just telling my girlfriend, I was like, hey, there's some times where there'll be a game and like it'll be like 1 o'clock in the morning and it's still going on. And I can't go to sleep until I finish watching it because I'm just like, I'm so like tuned in to, you know, this Hawaii versus Utah State game. And it's 47-48 with like a minute and 20 left.
We need to talk, Jermaine. Those are not the games you stay up late for.
I can't help it. And I will be I'll be so exhausted, like my chest hurts. But like I don't know why. Like I can't turn the TV off. I got to order the laptop.
I only did that with the Colorado game, the Colorado State game. That's the only time I stayed up.
Yeah.
Other than that, I am not watching Pac-12 after dark. It's not happening. No.
Yeah, I got a problem. I know it's well known. I admit it. Like you got me.
Well, I think this week we'll find out. We'll get that schedule. I think they'll announce the schedule for next week. They typically do it a couple weeks out, so we should hear this week.
So. Yeah, because looking at the schedule, like I said, the only other ranked game that might be more interesting than that is Washington against USC. And considering, you know, the way USC has been playing the last couple of weeks, losing and then
they're now have lost
barely winning
2 or 3. Are they?
That's their second loss.
Second loss. So they're going to lose probably 2 more. They're probably going to lose to Washington. They're probably going to lose to Oregon.
Yep.
Wow, a 4-loss USC team. I did predict that before they lost to Notre Dame, though.
I'm not going to lie. This Georgia team, I didn't have them as my number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
I talked about this on my other
Michigan
podcast.
Looks ridiculous.
I have Michigan as number 1. I think I had Georgia ranked like 4th.
Yeah.
In the country right now. But I do not see them as the number 1 team in the country because they just have not looked impressive enough to me to say that is the best team in the country.
It wouldn't shock me if Michigan blew out Ohio State, and if Michigan blew out, I don't know if they play Penn State. They should, because they're in the same division, right?
Let's take a look and see what Michigan has on their schedule.
But then Iowa lost. I don't know if you saw that game. That was insane. They get a punt return for a kick for a touchdown. Iowa does. And it's like one of the old school ugly SEC games. It was 12-10 at the time, but without all the NFL talent on the field. So when you're talking about an ugly baby here, okay?
Yeah.
But
that's like that Mississippi State Arkansas game. 7-3.
I turned it off. I was like, this is the worst game. This is like, at least with the LSU 9-6 game, you had literally NFL teams playing.
Right.
Okay. You had NFL teams. This is just crappy football. And I don't know if you saw Iowa's quarterback. That is the fattest quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Dude looked like a kicker.
He's bigger than Jared Lorenzen?
This dude had a belly. You could see his belly button. His belly button was talking to people. But Iowa scored on a punt return. And then all of a sudden the refs are like, no, we're reviewing. The dude waved his arm and it got called back and they ended up losing. So Iowa's probably not going to get their ass whooped in the Big Ten championship this year.
Man, so Michigan plays Penn State on the 11th, and then 2 weeks later they play Ohio State.
My opinion, how's Penn State going to score? And honestly, how is Ohio State going to score? I
Now,
don't see it. They may have
if
Marvin Harrison Jr., but today was not a good day for their offense.
right, but the thing is if they can shake it off and find a way to fight through it, they can find a way to put up points against that Michigan defense. But
I don't know.
I
I just
that
think Michigan's offense is humming too.
exactly.
They are
And
solid in their lines. And if you're solid in your lines, you could own. I just think they're going to be really tough to beat. They're
that's
going to
where
be
that
really
game
tough
is
in the
probably
Big
going to be.
Ten.
That's where that game is going to be decided is if
Mhm.
Ohio State's defense can stop Michigan's offense.
I
That's going to be the real matchup to watch in that game.
After watching Penn State and Ohio State today, that was another ugly baby game. You're like, it was 10-6 until late. And you're like, oh my God, Penn State has no vertical passing game.
None.
They get all excited about beating West Virginia or Iowa. Oh, well, Iowa has no offense. You just bullied them. You just covered up your ugly baby warts,
Yeah,
playing a bad offensive team.
it's crazy how some of these teams and like the thing that also leads me to believe that LSU is going to beat Bama in a couple of weeks is because they let Tennessee jump out on them.
Yes.
And then
if LSU does that, they're in trouble.
Because LSU is going to stay on your neck. You're not going to shut them down in the second half like you did Tennessee. So if you allow LSU to jump out on you like that and allow them to score and constantly move the ball down the field like they have done consistently all year to other teams with lesser offenses, it's just going to feed into LSU being able to beat Bama in a couple of weeks. And so
I love Brian Kelly's mindset. I really do. Last year said everything about where that man is mentally with this team, trusting his young players to get that 2-point conversion.
Yep.
I love it. And I don't think there is no doubt in my mind he's going to have that same mindset, because here's the thing. Alabama has still everything to lose. LSU doesn't.
Right.
LSU doesn't. Has 2 losses,
Yep.
Yeah, they still could win out and get there, but all the pressure is still going to be on an undefeated Bama to win at home and save Nick Saban from having 2 home losses in the same year.
And what's going to end up happening is LSU is going to win that game, but they're still going to need that help from other teams playing Ole Miss.
To me, Georgia is the other help. I just
Georgia, and they need them to lose one more game because they can't be tied with them because Ole Miss has that tiebreaker.
Actually, if you look at the standings, it's conference standings. So I do think if LSU wins out and Ole Miss gets a loss, they have the head-to-head against Bama. I do think they win the West if that happens. Because T-Bob was talking about it. T-Bob and Matt Moscona were talking about it on last week's Whiskey and Wine.
Okay.
And they basically said that if Ole Miss loses to Georgia and LSU wins out because we beat Bama, then LSU will win the West because of conference standings.
You're right.
Yes, it's conference.
I forgot that other tiebreaker. You're right.
Yeah. So
and that's crazy. And this is why understanding
they don't need Ole Miss
to
lose 2. They need them to lose 1.
And this is why understanding tiebreakers are so important, because I kept thinking, okay, just they need them to be ahead of the game and they need to be ahead of them in the standings, and they only got 1 loss, and gosh dang it, we need them to lose 2 more. But yeah, understanding those tiebreakers is so important. But I mean, we got 2 weeks until Bama, so
got to get healthy.
Exactly. The last thing I heard about Zion Alexander real quick was they said he has a lower body injury that will be examined over the next 24 hours.
That does not sound good. That sounds like he's getting an MRI.
Exactly. So there could be hope.
Concerning.
There could be hope that maybe it's just a real bad sprain and some swelling, or it could be like, hey, it could be serious. Let's get him an MRI and see how much damage has been.
Does Brian Kelly have a conference this week, or is he off this week?
I believe
Typically, he has them on Mondays.
Yes, if he does have one, I
He won't
know.
have one Thursday.
I know we'll cover it and we'll have it posted on the website sometime Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
If he does have it,
He won't have
I want to
one
say it's
next
around
Monday.
like 2,
Yeah.
3 o'clock. Maybe it should be posted on our YouTube and everything. So
Okay.
you guys should be able to see it here on our YouTube channel if he does have a press conference Monday, which he typically does after a game. You know, and they have a game Saturday, off on tomorrow, and then they'll be back at practice and everything and do something post game post practice presser on Monday.
Yeah. Okay. And this week, I think most of the players are just going to do their off week stuff.
Yes.
Which is rehab. Rehab.
Rest up, film study, you know. They now, one thing that I do believe they've done in the past, I'm not sure, but they've done like not really a game simulation, but they do like game week stuff to where they're off, but they're still gonna practice and everything like it's a regular game week, just to keep them in the same routines and whatnot. And I love that. I love that
because I do too. They need it, especially on defense.
Exactly, just giving them off and say, oh, okay, yeah, you guys just relax and we're going to take it easy on practices. No, put them through a regular practice like it would be a regular game week, and then just give them off game day.
And what I love too is they will be an underdog, so Kelly has that going for him. And I think it was important that Bama win today. I didn't want him to, but it's important that Bama would have won today, so they feel good going into that bye. So they're not on. They want revenge from last year, but is it, whatever? How much that plays into all this, I don't know. All I know is LSU has confidence. They know they could do it.
Oh,
and that's what last year proved.
Definitely.
To me, that's a bigger thing than the revenge thing for Bama.
Yeah, and it's a similar because in conference they're still undefeated. LSU has the one loss to Ole Miss, so. If they beat Bama, they not only hold a tiebreaker over Bama, but they also have a leg up, in the rankings and everything else as far as who might.
And let me ask you a question, and I'm just gonna say it out loud because this came up last year. What if? Let's play this big what if game.
Oh boy!
And I'm just gonna throw it out there, push it out there. LSU wins out, gets to Atlanta, and beats Georgia. How are you gonna keep that team with 2 losses out of the playoffs? I want to see it happen.
This happened.
And this team, as bad as their defense is, has the offense to outscore everybody.
Now, remember, I believe it was the 2017 that won the national championship with 2 losses.
2007.
And they were looked at like, why is this team getting in?
They beat that Ohio State Buckeye butt. In that second half, it wasn't close. I had to do a shot every time LSU scored. I had to do 6 shots.
Oh,
back in the day.
Good Lord.
So, but I'm just saying it's starting possible to get fished around in the with T-Bob and all the guys in Baton Rouge. Like
everybody's talking about it.
Guess what? Just like last year, LSU had a loss to Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
Then they played well. Then they had a horrible loss to Tennessee. They had a horrible loss to Ole Miss because of their defense. And then they came back and went on a run. Now we got to beat Aggie. You can't lose to Aggie at home. That is going to be a revenge game for LSU. If there is a revenge game, that is it. But you can't lose to Aggie. You can't lose to Florida at home.
And they have to look impressive also.
Yes.
I think just not only you could beat Bama and it could be like 31-24. It could be 28-27 or something like that. You could just barely beat but you beat Bama.
At Tuscaloosa.
In Tuscaloosa. Mm-hmm. But Florida, especially Georgia State and A&M.
We should beat Florida.
You have to look impressive because you have to not only say, hey,
especially
you know
with
what?
2 losses. and
right,
two
and
kind of
that
ugly losses.
that's the thing. You have to make up for those losses by making more impressive wins, and beating Bama in Bama is going to be something. But those other SEC wins, the Florida and the A&M, you have to look like overly impressive in those wins because you have those 2 losses, and then you have to go on and hope that Georgia stays undefeated. Just so when you play them and beat them in the SEC championship game, now you make a case for yourself to get in that college football playoff.
Yeah.
So this team has some work to do. They have an off week next week. Like I said, I'll probably be posting a video or something or two maybe next week just to fill in for not having a game and having crosstalk. But let's give our special guest Tracy a round of applause.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. We definitely have to do this again.
Absolutely. Loved it. Would love to do it again after the Bama game. I think that would be really fun. Either we're both going to be so happy drunk or we're going to be crying drunk. So
yes, like tonight,
that's going to be happening. So
tonight
but I appreciate you having me, my friend.
Tonight I made steak and shrimp stir fry. Because I make something every game day just to like, it kind of helps me like relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, let's watch this game, take notes and everything else. I don't know what I'm making for that Bama game. I have no idea. I'm hoping
last
it's
time
cold.
I went to the Drift and watched it at the party there down there. I may do that, so you may have me on a phone screaming because the place went absolutely nuts.
Yes.
And that night, so LSU beat Bama, and you have everybody outside watching that, and then inside's Astros winning the World Series. So within 10 minutes,
was that same
we
night.
had LSU in the epic, overtime win with Bama, and then 10 minutes later, the Astros won the World Series. So
I
saw a lot of drunk people. I was not one of them. I was well behaved, but man, there were a lot of drunk people.
Man, I'll never forget because like a couple of my friends, like Dre on 290 and them, they were at some of them were at Kobo's. And so I was seeing videos from Kobo's, and Kobo's is like 2 blocks from Minute Maid, so it was crazy. And there's a I think Woodrow's around the corner. Sometimes people go there to watch LSU games, Little Woodrow's and Ito. Yeah. So it was like it was an LSU bar around the corner, and then you have the Astros bar on this corner.
So you'd hear all the cheering. And
everything. Man, it was crazy down there last year.
Well, a lot of LSU fans obviously are Astro fans because of Bregman.
Bregman, exactly. So you got a lot of crossover. A lot of crossover.
But yeah, so if I'm doing that, I may call you just to let you know what the atmosphere was like.
We may have to have you get on the post game show after the Bama game
and show everybody,
especially if it's a win. Especially if it's a win.
Yes, because it will be crazy, and they play all the LSU songs, the fight songs. They play.
Man.
They play the one you're not supposed to play. They play that, and everybody's singing that throughout the whole place. So, because it's an LSU watch party, so they play all the songs. They do the TIGER, all of it.
Man,
so it's a lot of fun. But I may have if that happens, if it's where I go to watch it because I get too nervous. And I like to scream and not scare my neighbors. I go there because I could just scream and holler.
Yeah, and see, that's what I tell fans. I was just telling a buddy of mine of this. I was like, look, if you're gonna be a serious fan of a team, I was like, you have to watch it somewhere where you can like be free and just yell, scream, throw stuff, whatever it is you need to do. Like whether it's at home, at a bar, a friend's place, whatever it is, outside, whatever. Just go somewhere where you can just watch the game and be yourself.
Yes.
And he was like, you know what? I think he started watching the games on his patio on his laptop, and he has designated stuff that he can throw if he wants to chunk something. So
yeah, I don't know if I do that. My neighbors would literally call the police on me. I have scared my dogs many a times where they don't like to be in the room with me. So
that's me watching Saints games. Like sometimes when I watch a Saints game, they're a whole different story. I'm sorry. Exactly. Well, Tracy,
thanks, my friend.
It was so good having you. We'll definitely have to have you back sometime. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jermaine.
All right, later, guys.